All right, guys. We got two more guests that we're bringing on to the summit with me and Dex over here. We got two wonderful dudes. To my far right is my boy Cosmo. You see him rocking that retro Jalen Green jersey. And to his left, we got our boy Ed. All right, guys, let's start with Ed. Please give the people your Twitter at and just, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Oh, it's simple. In the fast lane, Ed. Very simple. Can't miss it. Can't mistake it. It's exactly how you spell it, in the fast lane, Ed. If you catch me on there, I talk about a lot of things. Making fun of Drake. Definitely talking
Shout
about
out to
my
Drake.
Rockets. Very
Honestly,
passionate about my Rockets. You may catch me talking a little WWE every now and then. But yeah, we have a little fun.
There you go. And Cosmo, about you, brother?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Cosmo Kage. That's KOSMOKAGE. I talk about anything from like anime, just regular day-to-day things, but mostly about my Rockets. Residential KPJ stan.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I like that. There you go. Okay, guys, let's make this a collaborative effort between the both of you guys. All right, we have a lot of subjects that we can talk about for our short time together. But do what you want to talk about. You want to talk about the draft? We're going to talk about the wood trade, or do you want to talk about your feelings going into the upcoming season?
I definitely want to talk about my feelings going into next season.
Oh,
Let's go. Let's hear
without
it.
a doubt.
Let's
All right.
Ed, let's go. Okay, bro. Okay, let's go like this. Let's go right on the question that we went with Don and J-Dub. Are you on more so pro tanking, like literally just tanking like Portland OKC style? Or or do you think you want to go and try and push for a possible play-in spot?
First off, teams that go pro tanking, that's talking about just remove assets, you don't deserve success.
Talk to him. Let him know.
I like the way this man thinks. I like the way this man thinks.
It's all about giving these young guys an opportunity to grow, all right?
There you go.
Put them in position. So I'm not saying you get all these veterans and push to win. Let those young guys actually learn how to lead and carry their team on the shoulders, unlike the New Orleans Peasants. Who have to ride on the CJ McCollum.
Wow, there we go. There we go.
Lifting.
That's a bar.
That was real, man. That was real.
I'm just being honest.
Hey, man, that is real. And then they're trying to re-sign Zion. We'll see how that goes. Who knows, man? I mean, hey.
I'll leave that alone.
Cosmo, what you think, brother?
Me personally, I feel like you let the young guys decide. Like whatever their skills and however they gel together, whatever they produce when they're working together, you put them in the correct positions. You give them their proper minutes, give them their proper reps. If they need to go to the G League, let them.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I want to rush our team at all.
I feel that.
When it's time to win, I feel like it should be a sustained thing. I don't want to be banking off a superstar rental. When teams pick up somebody for a year and they get like really far, maybe conference finals. And if you win the finals, then you have to like wrestle to try to like re-sign him and like keep the team together. I don't like trying to make a puzzle piece of a team. I'd rather like
you're trying to build a culture. Basically, what you're saying is like you want to build something sustainable in the sense.
Exactly.
We just watched a team like Boston organically grow. They had some auxiliary pieces that they've added.
All their top picks they got from another team.
There you go.
I mean, even the Warriors. Even the Warriors. They built through the draft.
Warriors were grown from within. They're stars as well. Like think about it like that. Like I believe that the super team era is kind of dead.
Yeah.
Organically
For
grown
sure.
super teams are certainly a thing with the Warriors. I wouldn't consider the Celtics possibly a super team in the sense. I mean, Jaylen Brown and Tatum are studs. Tatum did not have the best of finals, but I believe that the man can redeem himself.
It's early.
But I do believe that it's a model that the Rockets can definitely build on.
Yes, without a doubt. You want those guys, like I said earlier, to show you. And it'll be very apparent when it's time. Like we saw Tatum. It seemed like he's kind of ready, but he... Absolutely. He got a little lumps to take there, but he's definitely shown us now with Boston in terms that, hey, I'm an all-star and I'm ready to take that leap.
Absolutely.
So that's the goal for us as Rockets fans. We want to make sure when the time is right that our young core has that opportunity and they show us.
There you go.
So let's not ride on the backs of veterans that are too good.
There you go.
If that makes sense.
I also like the Grizzlies. The way they painted out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That team is
if Ja
built.
was healthy, oh my God, like that would have been a nice series versus the Warriors.
absolutely.
Without a doubt, a problem.
I want to build that way. I don't want to
There you
just
go.
jumble a team together and then just pray, because I feel like we've been doing that last run. That's all we were doing. We were just throwing free agents, praying and hoping they stick together and get us far enough.
Absolutely. Chemistry is underrated.
I get what you're saying. For me, I'm like, hey, if the Rockets, if they come out here and they're at like, 25 and 25, that's a stretch. But like if they're at 25 and 25,
honestly, I'd be happy with that. It just shows improvement. That's true improvement.
But I'm saying,
okay.
like, if we like 25 and 25, I don't know how many games are played by the trade deadline. But like, hey, if we can go pick up, some small piece that's gonna help us, like maybe push the over 500 at the end of the year.
Well, see, I wouldn't do that. Not this year. Not this season coming up.
A small piece.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't do it. Not with the small piece. I would just ride it on out. And let it happen organically, because at the same time,
organic learning for somebody.
Oh my God, please no.
Just let it happen naturally. Let's put it that way. We're gonna let it happen naturally, because at the end of the day, if they are a 500 club, I'm trying to keep my composure. But I mean, if they handle their business naturally, that pick is going to be ours outright naturally.
Yeah.
And I don't want us to sabotage that opportunity. So you still want the opportunity to have to add more young pieces.
Absolutely.
But you also don't want to sacrifice that and cut your ceiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel you. But at some point, like, we have so many young pieces already. It's like you just can't keep just adding more and more and more young pieces. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
You gotta eventually, start winning some games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: the timeline itself. This was the first true year of a rebuild. Last year was a year that we were kind of had to push on the fly, and like the year of Harden, that was unfortunate. But I wouldn't count that against a guy like Silas, he came here to coach a team that he believed was going to be completely different. So last year was truly the first year where we'd see a real rebuild.
Yeah, and it was, like COVID protocols and getting dudes out the G League, so we had enough players to play and all this other stuff.
Well, I honestly don't even consider last year a full, fair rebuild.
Yes, it was.
No.
I respect the opinion.
In all fairness,
half
of the team were veterans and Stone still trying to figure out his way. Let's just be honest. With the moves that we just seen recently happen, it's now been set in stone and clear for us that we are on a full-blown youth movement. So now we're in our official rebuild.
I respect that. Like certain stuff is out of his control. But go on, Cosmo. What you think?
I mean, I don't agree with that at all.
I agree with that. Like,
nobody gets
rebuild, but like I still hold it against Silas.
Nobody gets an extremely clean slate. Like he had his rookie core.
Silas didn't pick the players. He didn't pick the players.
But the job of a coach is to know your personnel and put them in positions.
Mixed match pieces. How does that work?
You should have been able to put it together.
That's his job.
I
He's paid to figure that out.
I agree with Cosmo in that regard that it is Silas's job to piece it together. I mean, granted, he did have an understanding of his roster to an extent, correct?
Right.
But, obviously there are issues that go above him, like playing Eric Gordon, correct? He probably wanted to play Jalen Green a bit more in the sense, but Eric Gordon had to be featured in the offense to an extent of where they could trade him, showcasing, correct? But, in that regard, it's all good. At the end of the day,
I'm to help you out, everyone's favorite Rocket, Daniel Tice. We had to give him minutes.
Rocket's
we had just signed him last offseason.
I have nothing
against Daniel Tice. We had to show everybody how great he was as a center.
I love it. I love to hear it. But, guys,
talk about him.
I truly want to appreciate you guys coming on to talk. Yo, Ed, Cosmo, give everyone your Twitter at one more time. And everyone that listens to the summit and watches us on this episode, please show the guys some love.
Once again, as I said before, on Twitter, in the Fast Lane, Ed, exactly how you hear it. It's spelled the exact same way. Check your eyes out there.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Cosmo Kage. That's KOSMOKAG.
Love it. Thank you guys for coming on again.
Sure.
Really appreciate you guys, and thank you for showing up for today. Like it was just a pleasure to have you guys on.
Oh no, it's an honor that you even invited us here. So we're just having fun. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you again. Appreciate you guys.
They're all right, I guess.
I love it. All right.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back here at the summit. If you look to my right, we have two friends over here on the far right side, and
this is your left. Dude.
Stage.
No, I'm kidding.
It's my right. This is already
Stage left.
It's not Jackson unless he fights me. Literally 2 seconds into the pod. Remember we were talking about the last time I had you on. We were
absolutely. I gotta stay on brand, man. Come on.
I love it. This pod just got just a smidge bigger because these two friends to my right.
Is that a weight reference?
Huh?
Is that a weight reference? Are you calling me fat?
No.
He's calling both of us fat.
Yeah,
hey, dude, I feel like that's what that's a lie. I'm the heaviest guy on this couch. Okay, come on.
It just got a little bit bigger. I feel I can read the context.
Even if I meant
it just
it
got
that
a little
way.
bit bigger. Title of your sex tape.
I just said a smidge. You guys are terrible. And here I was trying to give y'all love. You know what? Don't even worry about their podcast. Don't even follow them. Don't even worry because I was trying to give them love and they weren't even giving. So, all jokes aside, let's start over with you. Everyone should know who y'all two are, but I want to give y'all a chance to introduce yourselves just to the people. Everyone knows Jackson because he's come on our pod way more times than ever. He's like what, third or fourth appearance now at this point?
It's my fifth appearance. I think it's my fifth appearance.
Oh wow,
actually,
big time number 5. Shout out to Courtney Lee. I can't explain these things, man. It just happens.
Yeah, but you crashed one of my appearances, so that doesn't count.
Okay, so let these guys fight. I'm going to pass it over to you one time. Salman, welcome to the summit. We are so happy to have you. Give the people you're at. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, first, I just want to say, if you do know who I am, you're a sad person, okay? So it's at Salman Ali NBA. I cover the Rockets. This is a Rockets podcast, so maybe you do. Listen, I'm happy to be here, man. This is a pretty cool setup you guys have going on. You guys have microphones, cameras. You got an audio guy? I don't have an audio guy. I have just me and my computer. Like this is very strange. This is much more professional than I ever anticipated.
I appreciate that, dude. I just appreciate you getting on, and this is the first time we actually met in person, so I think that's really cool. And we're gonna give a few plugs actually at the end of our segment, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. But all right, you in the red shirt. Give him your hat.
Wow, he just doesn't even give my name. He's just like He just points at me and he's like, "Hey, you go next."
I love you. I love you.
Yeah. So if you're not following me, I'm at JT Gatlin on Twitter. I also cover the Houston Rockets on like 17 million podcasts. So I do Locked on Rockets 5 days a week. I do State of the Rockets with none other than Roosh Williams himself. I'm also the founder of ClutchCityControlRoom.com, and I do Locked on NBA Mondays. That's the other one.
Wow, that's what we call a resume.
Were we
there.
supposed to plug our stuff?
We were.
Salman.
No, you missed your window. You're done.
It's too late.
Nobody knows. Go check out Red Nation Hoops. It's one of the best Rockets podcasts out there. And go subscribe to the Red Nation Hoops newsletter. Salman Ali does an incredible job breaking down everything that's going on with the Houston Rockets. The moment he dropped that newsletter, I subscribed instantaneously. He is one of the best minds covering the Houston Rockets.
Oh.
This is some real love. This is organic.
I try to believe that we're the Oprah
No. The word organic is banned within the Rockets fandom. Don't you use that word.
Shush.
This is, you can use the word natural. You can say
free range. My apologies.
Free range.
Free range love. Free range love.
We're not even
gluten-free, non-GMO, like whatever you want to say, but not organic. We don't use that word.
We're not even going to get to Rocket Stock.
A USDA grass-fed relationship right here, okay?
Hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I want the right protein, and this is what I consider.
Hey, you told me
right
you were going to tell me you're going to bring it up with Salman, the yogurt reference.
I did. We spoke about that prior to coming in.
Yeah.
A few of the episodes I listened to with Salman, he talks about his love for Greek yogurt, and I've had to give it a try, and I will tell him.
Which one?
Greek yogurt is plentiful.
This is very important to me. Which one?
To be honest with you, I don't even remember the brand. So, full disclosure here, I used to work at Whole Foods.
Okay.
And I would eat all the different yogurts.
Right.
Sorry, guys, we're gonna deviate from Rockets talk here.
It's going
But
left.
Who cares about the Rockets? Go ahead.
Touche.
Yeah.
The draft's a week away. Whatever. Who cares?
Meet us at the Yogurt Summit.
There you go.
Right.
But yes, I've had quite a few stuff. I don't remember some of the brands. But there was a brand that I would eat regularly. I don't remember if it was Greek, but there was a brand that I would get from.
Is it Oikos? Oikos?
Yes, that's one
Dan
of them.
and Oikos, I think. It might
Dan
be.
And, those are your top brands.
No, well, here's the thing. I'm an HEB brand guy. So,
dude, I like HEB yogurt, guys.
Yeah, HEB brand vanilla. HEB brand vanilla Greek yogurt.
A man after my own heart. I'm a vanilla
it's my
guy.
favorite. I mean, it's legit. I'll eat that thing. It's a very small can. It'll take me 15 minutes to finish. because I'm just like savoring it. It's the best. And I'll like watch basketball and I'll have my Greek yogurt. It's the best.
This guy's watching film and eating Greek yogurt. I've never heard such a thing.
There's no other way to do film studies.
There you go. There you go.
Are we done? I'm just kidding.
Kenny's ready to talk some hoop.
I just want, I got some great basketball minds here, but I can appreciate a good yogurt talk. At this point in the episode, I'm sure everyone's like, man, we've got enough Rockets talk. I think it's nice to get some yogurt, some Oprah Winfrey love. Like this is also what the summit represents, so I appreciate that.
There you go.
I don't get the Oprah reference, but
because y'all hugged,
huh?
Y'all hugged.
Oh, we hugged.
It was a great moment.
For sure.
Those moments. We
It's
create
all
moments.
love.
But we didn't give out a card to everybody in the audience, so we didn't quite meet the expectation.
Oh, okay. I'll find something later. All right, boys. Y'all are the special guests here today. One of three topics we could talk about. We can talk about NBA draft, which I don't think anyone's covered enough of the draft, right? Obviously, that's
Not spoken ad nauseum whatsoever.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. If anything, there needs to be more draft talk. NBA draft. We could talk about the Christian Wood trade, which just happened recently, which I'm sure no one's talked about enough, anyways, or the upcoming Rockets season.
we could talk. Actually, let's start with Christian Wood.
Okay.
Because it is interesting. I haven't done a podcast on this, so I guess I can do it here.
Yes, let's go.
So, how'd you guys feel about the return there on that trade? Just the return, not the fact that they traded Christian Wood, but the return on that trade.
I'm not mad about it.
Really?
If I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me in the sense of the fact that we have found out that not many teams valued him that high. And I do believe that for Stone, in regards to this deal, I'm not going to say completely that he struck while the iron was hot, but he probably found a deal that he can be okay with and sleep at night. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to taking a deal where he was just kind of like, where he doubts himself. As a GM, that's the last thing you want to do. So for him, I believe that he probably made the deal that was right for the team and right for us moving forward, and I'm going to live with that,
Go ahead.
Okay, well, in a vacuum, I think the deal was a little bit disappointing, right? Like, you look at it in a vacuum,
right?
And you say, all right, Christian Wood, and effectively all you're getting back is a late first-round draft pick. That in and of itself is rather disappointing when viewed in just that frame. But there's so much more that comes from this trade by dealing Christian Wood than just the asset that comes back by way of the first-round draft pick.
That's why I asked for the vacuum question,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I agree. This is a move they had to do. And I've been saying this for 2 years. People got really mad at me for when I first suggested that they should trade Christian Wood. But some of those people might actually be here. But no, but here's the thing. He just does not make sense with what they're trying to do right now. He's 26 years old. Most of the core is 21 or younger, right? Even Kevin Porter Jr. is 21.
Yep.
And everybody on the team is locked into controlled contracts that have the option to be restricted free agents, and they'll be pretty easy to attain for long-term deals. Christian Wood's about to be an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
Right? And he plays a position of arguably their second most in talent. Right? I think Jalen Green is probably the most talented young player on the team. Right? I think we can all agree on that. Alperen Şengün is ridiculous. And I can't find a position that he plays better at than center. I get the idea of him at power forward, right? And perhaps if they have to take a Chet Holmgren in the draft, which I guess we can talk about later, maybe he can try and squeeze that in. But in my opinion, he's best used at center, right? As the kind of pseudo hub of an offense, right? And when you have Christian Wood there playing power forward, the defense is going to be awful, right? We've seen it. The numbers aren't good. The Christian Wood and Alperen Şengün lineups suck. They're dog shit, right? So, they just are. You look at the numbers.
Wait, are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Right. They were always in the red, right? And I know the organization tried to push really, really hard to try and see more of that lineup. I thought a lot of it was disingenuous. I think after a certain point, they recognized that lineup was not going to work. Mm-hmm. So I understand his placement on the team didn't make sense anymore. But you do have to look at the return and the timing, right? Like, had they traded Christian Wood 6 months ago, 12 months ago, they would have capitalized on the peak of his value because he would have 2 or 3 playoff appearances for that new team, which could potentially mean 1 or 2 good first-round picks. Whereas what they got back now is like a first-round pick that's not that appetizing. I mean, this draft kind of falls off a cliff after 20, and you might be able to get someone if the draft doesn't go according to how we think it's going to be. You might be able to get somebody, but more likely this is going to be a player that doesn't play that first season, right? So the asset to asset ratio just doesn't make sense. More likely, the player they're going to take is going to be worse than Christian Wood. So it's hard to argue on an asset basis that this was a good deal. And I know that a lot of people in the Rockets fan community had grown sick of Christian Wood, right? And they were ready to get rid of him.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean we should automatically go to praise the asset that they got back, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
No, absolutely. I think that's absolutely fair. And it's interesting that you say that because it got to the point where people were so over him that it was just kind of like, oh, we'll take any, like not take anything, but like people, it was this weird flux in the community where it was like, we wanted to trade Wood, but then at the same time, they wanted a really good deal. Like they wanted to try to get a really good deal for Wood. And I think it's interesting that you say that in regards to like a vacuum, because as of right now, it's not the best deal. Like it's not honestly the best deal to be had.
This is a deal you would have expected for Eric Gordon.
Yes.
Right? Like this is not the deal you expect for Christian Wood.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's tough when you look at what his supposed market value was. You mentioned the fact that trading him 6 months ago would have probably been the most ideal. I honestly think that the way the market had kind of dried up for a guy like Christian Wood at the trade deadline, the Rockets weren't able to find a deal that they found like agreeable at the trade deadline for Eric Gordon or for Christian Wood. But I think his peak value was actually at last year's NBA draft. And I made the mistake even all the way back then of saying, no, the Rockets shouldn't trade Christian Wood this early. He's 1 year into his deal. He showed a lot of promise at the end of the season. And the full-scale rebuild hadn't quite begun yet, right? They hadn't selected Jalen Green yet. They didn't know what they had as far as what their future actually entailed from all the draft picks they made in this past year's NBA draft with Jalen Green, Şengün. We hadn't seen all that kind of coalesce. And so I think for the Rockets, their optimal period to trade Christian Wood was last year's draft, and there just wasn't anything on the market around the trade deadline of this past season in terms of what they got in this deal, because you look at the deal, right? Yes, it's just a 26th pick. Yes, it's a late first-round draft pick. They also didn't bring back any long-term money. And that's another important part of this deal to remember is they got all expiring contracts where they're not going to be tied up long-term on the books, right? They don't have a situation like the Miami Heat trying to deal a Duncan Robinson because he's, dead money for the next however many years he's got left on his contract.
But would you have taken on dead money if the asset you got back was better? Right? If you got offered a lottery pick,
it depends.
If you got offered a lottery pick in this draft,
I'm
taking on dead money. I don't care.
I respect that. I respect that.
Well, you were cool with the Duncan Robinson deal.
Yeah, because you
were good with it.
I think he would suit well with who we have personnel wise. But, of course, the backside of that is a matter of he wouldn't stay on the court with Miami in the playoffs. But also on the other side of the coin, the Rockets won't be in the playoffs for at least another year or two.
And see, I'm on the flip side of that. I wouldn't take on the dead money. Now, again, I think there's maybe a cutoff, right? Like if you're talking like the 12th pick in the lottery, then I'm maybe like, yeah, no, I don't want any dead money. I don't want to be locked into a long-term
Depends on who's available at 12, right?
That is true, right? And so if a guy drops, then maybe you're at 12 and you're like, oh, we're really happy we picked up the 12th pick.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if any of those options were on the table back when the Rockets were trying to deal Christian Wood at the trade deadline in the first place, or at least entertaining offers for him.
So I'll say this. Oh, microphone cable. Yeah. So I'll say this. The Rockets at the trade deadline did a ton of posturing about not wanting a 2022 draft pick. We already have 2 first-round picks. Why do we want to go get a 3rd first-round pick? It makes no sense. We have a roster of X amount of players. Taking on an extra young player doesn't do us any good. It's not going to help us. And what did they end up doing? So the idea that this deal wasn't available at the trade deadline, I think that's disingenuous. I think they could have done this at the deadline, or probably a better 2022 first-round pick, honestly, because that team would have taken on an extra playoff appearance with Christian Wood. So they would have been more tempted to give up a good first-round pick, not a better first-round pick than 26. I mean, we're talking 26. Like there's 25 other picks they could have gotten. Think about that. There are 25. There's only 4 teams.
To be fair, OKC owned 13 of those 25 picks. So
Salman is spitting. I like it.
Listen. I think the idea of moving Christian Wood makes a lot of sense, right? I 100% agree with that. They traded him at the last possible minute because they know they're about to take on a big man at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
Right? They know they're going to lose some leverage when they take on that big man, and there's no playing time to be had for Christian Wood. His numbers are going to drop, and you can't trade him. I get it. You had to do it. Did you have to do it now? Could you have done it earlier? That's my question for them. I just think the posturing was just out of hand.
And I agree that they should have done it earlier. I was adamant that they needed to try and move Christian Wood at the deadline. Was there a deal out there? And that's the part that it's tough because we don't know what some of these behind closed door meetings look like. We don't know if they actually had an offer or two on the table for a first round draft pick like this, or again, whether maybe they did have an offer for a late first like this deal, but they had to also take back some dead money or some bad money, a long-term contract to make it happen financially. It's a lot easier to make these moves happen in the offseason when you can absorb, 4 extra contracts, right? A 4-for-1 trade is how this Mavericks trade works.
We're not crunching for roster numbers.
Right.
You can take on an excessive amount and just cut them when you need to.
And mid-season, you would have had to waive X number of players to make this exact transaction work. So from the Mavericks' perspective, they're trading none of their actual rotation players, and they're getting back a guy who's going to be a starting player for them next year.
Which is a steal.
It's a steal for the Mavericks, but they couldn't have done this trade during the season, right? It would have been impossible.
I think they could have, because here's the thing. Who on their roster, other than Jalen Green, is a must-keep? I cannot... we
wouldn't put Alpine in that category just yet.
Can you name 4 players that they could have waived? Sorry, 3 players that they could have waived.
Here's the thing. They could have sent back Daishen Nix for a better draft pick.
That's fair.
Oh, that's
Touche.
fair. Okay.
Touche.
Good point.
But then
like
you can say that, are we the team that values him the highest in the sense? You know what I mean?
I'm sorry?
Maybe we're the team that values him the highest. I mean, we don't know exactly what they're thinking in regards to how other teams value a Daishen Nix. I see the value, as he played super well for RGV, but we're just not sure exactly how other teams might have viewed him in the sense of what they could have used with him.
And you're 100% right. What you said earlier about how the market squeezed the Rockets. There was not a market for Christian Wood.
There wasn't.
Right? Especially after the Sacramento Kings trade. That was the one team that could have used a center.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And after that trade, there was not a demand for him anymore. Right? So I sympathize with that. Still, the idea that this return, I don't know how you look at it and look at it anything other than kind of disappointing. It's on the lower end of what I would have expected they would return. Right? And I'm not even a Christian Wood guy. And he's talented enough to warrant more than this.
But when you also look at what Christian Wood ultimately cost the Rockets when they first acquired him, it cost the Rockets a mid-tier first-round draft pick. That's it. And Trevor Ariza.
And so don't forget Jackson. Don't you forget Trevor Ariza.
I'm so sorry for disrespecting the legend Trevor Ariza. My bad.
I mean, but here's why I don't like that logic. Because think about this. You could easily say the same thing. Think about what James Harden cost the Rockets. And then think about if they had taken on an underwhelming package, you could make that same argument then. Well, think about what James Harden cost the Rockets. He only cost them 1 first-round pick and a bunch of young players. Yep. So that logic has a ceiling, and I just don't think you can take it very far. Even with Christian Wood, who's only been acquired 2 years ago, right? With James Harden, there's a 7-8 year span. So maybe it's not a fair metaphor, but I do think this idea of we only gave up this for that player. Well, yeah, you only gave up that for that player, but then that player produced for you at Y, right? So you got to go get Y value. I don't know, but we probably spent too much time on this. It's just
I was actually gonna be we're gonna have to move. We're gonna have to move. This is great. This is I'm not comparing y'all to any means, but it's almost like those Undisputed, when you guys are just kind of going back and forth, and then whoever's that
Molly.
All right, we have to move on. We have to move on. Let's go ahead and move on. One last question before we go ahead and close this out here. But look, draft night's this Thursday with so much excitement going around the city of Houston within the team of the Houston Rockets, especially. All reports are leaning towards Banchero. My thought process on this is everyone loves Banchero. I like Banchero too. I'm a Jabari guy. But I think overall, the idea of holding on to that hope, it's not set in stone. People are ready to coordinate him. I'm not ready to coordinate him because it's not set in stone. We're the number 3 overall pick. Anything can happen in that top 2.
Why are Rockets fans stressed about this decision, by the way? You're going to get an awesome basketball player.
Thank you.
Chet
I agree with this.
Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith. You're going to get an awesome basketball player. Stop the bickering. Like, stop it. You're going to get a really good basketball player that's going to be foundational to your rebuild. It's just weird. Why are you guys arguing about the difference between these 2 players, about these 3 players, when they're all objectively very good prospects, and you're going to get someone that is foundational in your. I don't know. It's just when I see this, and I'm not even on Twitter that often, but when I am on Twitter, I do see the bickering, and it doesn't make any sense to me because you landed right in the draft where you needed to be, and the decision is out of your hand anyways. So why are you?
That was my whole mindset too. Is that it was always like, I've done enough research on all 3 where I'm like, I can see where all 3 can make an impact in a positive manner on the team. Everyone has their preference, but I think no matter what, the fact that you land, people tend to forget that you landed in that top 3, you got there, and I think overall, whoever we get is going to be a net positive for the team. But Jackson, what about you?
Well, what it comes down to, right, and the reason you're seeing some fans, with the bickering and whatnot is partially right because each one has their own preference, right? Like, I've been very adamant that I think Jabari Smith Jr. is the number 1 guy, the number 1 prospect in this draft. That said, as soon as the Rockets landed at number 3, I largely formulated the opinion, yeah, he's probably out of reach of the Rockets. They're in the fortuitous position of they're just going to get whoever's left out of the big 3 at the top of the draft. That said, you start getting fans who become kind of emotionally attached or invested in a specific prospect. In this case, a lot, often Paolo Banchero at number 3. And you see even in the past couple of days with some, reporting coming out that OKC might not be, completely locked in on Chet Holmgren, that they're still considering Paolo Banchero at number 2. And so all these Rockets fans who have committed themselves to the idea of Paolo Banchero in a Rockets jersey, getting up jumpers at Toyota Center, playing alongside Jalen Green, they're going to be distraught if Paolo Banchero isn't drafted by the Houston Rockets because they've committed so much time and energy towards, this is what he's going to look like. This is how he's going to play again, alongside Jalen Green and KPJ. This is what he's going to look like, on the Rockets team, and how great is it going to be that we're going to get this guy. I completely agree with you. Whoever the Rockets get at number 3, whether it's somehow Jabari, whether it's Chet, or whether it's Paolo, they're getting an incredible player who is going to be a foundational piece
out of your
for their
hand.
rebuild.
You can't control it. Like, you're number 3.
It's not the number 1. It's not the number 1 overall pick.
Like last year, you could argue, you could make your cases for Jalen Green or my guy
Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley. The name escapes me, and I was an Evan Mobley guy. Yeah, you could make your cases for both players, right? And you'd have a legitimate argument. And the Rockets would have to look at cases for both players and make their decision. Whereas the Rockets can, it's out of their hands. They're not making any decision. They're just taking whoever is left over. And
part of that is the boredom leading up to the draft. I'm gonna throw that out there too. It's just there's only so much to discuss going up to the draft, and at some point, you just want to discuss something. So we're discussing the difference between the top prospects.
There you go.
I'll say this. Well, I did see a big board the other day that had Jabari Smith Jr. at number 4 and Jaden Ivey at number 3.
Whoa, whose big board was this?
Hold on, let me finish this. And I was like, man, I wish I could be that brave because, man, my heart, my gut wants to do that. I want to do that.
I like Jaden Ivey.
I love Jaden Ivey.
I like Jaden Ivey.
My guttural reaction, the inner basketball fan in me, when I watch Jaden Ivey play basketball, I'm like, this guy's absolutely going to be one of the 3 best players from this draft. 100%. But for some reason, I overthink things and I look at what other people are saying. I'm like, okay, fine. I guess Jabari Smith deserves to be in that top 3. I'm actually different. I'm actually different from you. I think he's the 3rd best prospect, and I think he's kind of robotic. But here's the thing. I think he is such a good 3-point shooter, where he could right now arguably be one of the greatest 3-point shooting prospects of all time. He is that good of a shooter.
This man knows ball.
So that's why I've left it alone. That's why I'm not pushing towards that. But if think about this, I'll pose this question to you. If Jabari Smith Jr. was 3% worse from 3-point range, is he still a top 3 prospect? Just 3%. So going from 42% to 39. Like, still very good, just not all-time great.
Not elite in the sense.
Yeah. I mean, 39% is elite, though. It's just not, like, when you get above 40, you're talking all-time great.
Yeah.
Right? So, if he was just 3 percentage points lower, like, does that drastically change the order of the draft?
I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, it would. It would.
I'd still have him probably top 5.
You'd be top 5.
Given
Top 5,
given
maybe-
everything else he brings to the table, the defense, the size, like, and if you're talking, again, 39% instead of 42, I still think he'd be a consensus top 5 selection at that point.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this conversation interesting at number 2 for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who actually do have to make a choice between the two players. Like, you can't say that about Chet Holmgren. If he's 3% worse from 3, I'm still taking him in the top 3. Right? You can't say that about Paulo Banchero because his ball handling is so good. I'm willing to risk it. Right? He's the one guy where if you drop his 3-point percentage just a little bit, it drastically changes how we view them as a prospect. I don't know. I totally
I'm
get speaking off the top of the dome. I don't mean to hijack your podcast. I recognize I've been talking a lot.
Yeah,
but like,
no, it's fine.
You're good.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, you know what, boys, we're gonna take this moment right now, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap up right here. Jackson.
Oh, we're wrapping up?
Yeah, we gotta wrap up.
I wanted to talk about this belt over here, man, because it's like I was staring at this beauty for like legit the entire time I was sitting there.
Salman? I'll make you a deal. I'll bring it on Thursday.
Huh?
I'll bring it on Thursday.
You'll bring it on Thursday?
I'll bring it on Thursday.
Okay, great.
What are we doing on Thursday?
Yes. Can you plug it? I'm not good at this stuff.
Go. This Thursday, we're going to be teaming up with Red Nation Hoops and Salman Ali and Apollo at at their studios at HQ, and we're going to be hosting a live draft show. And you're not only going to get to listen, you're going to get to see our wonderful faces in the process, and it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be myself, the GM. Salman's going to be there. Taylor's going to be there as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be on Twitch, YouTube, live streams.
We'll bring a Jackson stand-in. We'll put
You're messing my plug up. We're going to be
live. Drop by the studio. You're more than invited.
Ruin my plug. I was trying to get this plug out.
Go ahead.
All right. So you can follow us on Twitch and YouTube as well, and we're looking forward to having y'all. But there's so much going to be great coverage that Thursday, and we're just excited to pump that out for y'all. Some State of Mind, Red Nation Hoops, team up one time for that live stream show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Salman Ali one time, thank you so much. Got to meet you for the first time here, and it was such a great experience getting to meet you. Jackson, friend of the Summit, close friend of the Summit, always welcome here. We appreciate y'all one time. Thank you.
I had fun.